guys, welcome to Cold Film and Review, the podcast where we discuss the films you love, but no one else gets, and we see if they still hold up. Tonight, we are stranded on a deserted island, and only one of us can live, because we're talking about the Battle Royale. So let's start the show. Hey guys, thanks for joining the cult. We really appreciate it. Do us a favor, head over to iTunes, leave us a review. We will give you a shout out at the end of the show. We got one to do.
Shout out.
That's right. So stay tuned for that. Also, when you're done with that, head over to cultfilmandreview.com for all your cult film and review needs, like picking up a t-shirt or checking out some of those wacky rating boxes that Chris makes.
Wacky.
Or checking out some episodes. Then done with that, head over to YouTube. Check out our YouTube page. You can always check our live streams at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time with one of us or all of us. We're not really sure yet. We're working on it.
Some of us.
Some of us. But
is that your way of getting out of this? Some of us.
Hey, I'll be there.
Okay.
I'll be there. I'm excited about doing a group thing, so I'll be there.
Join us for the group thing.
Yeah. Can we call it
Cold Film Review presents a group thing.
guys, you're not gonna want to miss the group thing. It's gonna be
Goddamn.
it's like you ever
very
seen the
groupy.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Society?
It's gonna be like that.
It's gonna be totally like that. And then join us on September 13th for the burning. Guys, new thing on this one. I want to stress this: 8 p.m. start time. 8 p.m. start time.
We've actually never stated the start time ever before.
I know, but this is a new start time.
It is a new start.
But
time.
it's not new to anyone else because they never knew the original start time.
Well, if we didn't tell them, what if they
How
were
do you
like,
know that?
No, they would just show up at 10 because they're like,
No.
well, on other episodes,
Maybe
I
they-
just thought it was implied.
maybe they would go back to the past episodes and be like, huh, did they say the time before?
No, never. Never once.
8 p.m. though. So make sure that you guys show up for that one. Gonna be a good time. Jason Alexander's in that movie. Come out and see it. That's the selling point. That is the selling
Did
Did you
point.
say what the
Stevens.
movie is?
The Burning.
Okay.
September 13th. You're gonna want to be there. Come out. Good time. Then get tickets where, Chris?
Thefilmbarphx.com.
That's right. All right. I'm fired up tonight, guys.
You sound fired
can
up, but you
tell.
also sound like concerned.
Ready for the battle.
All right. But before we talk about the battle, as always, I am joined by Kyle Smith,
Hey, how's it going?
Chris Willenbrecht,
Hey, what's up?
Michael Salustio.
Hello, everybody. I will be no part of this. Hey, right.
That's the one I'm going to use.
Okay.
Tonight we are talking about Battle Royale. It was directed by, help me out with this one, Kyle, because I'm going to screw it up.
It's Kinji Fukasaku.
Kenji Fukusaku?
This is gonna happen all night.
Yep. Came out in 2000, had a budget of $4.5 million, made $30 million worldwide, had a rating of, I think, R15 is what they call it. Is that, I believe?
It's the equivalent of R.
Yeah, and it currently sits at an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. This was Kyle's pick.
It was.
Kyle, why'd you pick Battle Royale?
I picked, we started the show 4 years ago.
That's about
and
right.
from day one, this was one of my picks. And I've wanted to pick this movie over and over again. And I don't know why it just hasn't happened yet. But I was thinking about, so spoiler alert, in about
Here comes the story.
I really wanted to cover a movie that this director did in 1973 called Battles Without Honor and Humanity, which is a Yakuza film. But this is the last full feature film that he was able to complete because he passed away, sadly, during the filming of the sequel to this film. So I thought it would be fun to watch this one. It's a huge cult film. There's a lot of weird controversy about it, and its release to it being released in the United States and among other countries. And I thought it'd be fun to watch this and then go back and watch the movie that he really was catapulted to I feel like cult film stardom with. So in a couple weeks we'll probably do that one. But
There you go. So, a sequel, cliffhanger.
cliffhanger
A
episode.
little cliffhanger episode right here.
Kyle's cliffhangers.
Oh, wow. New
new-
podcast
it's
this Wednesday. Kyle's
It's an
cliffhangers.
entire podcast of him never getting to the
Yeah.
point.
And
Tune in next week, and I'll answer your
I'll
questions.
let you know what I
about
think
life.
about that.
He comes
Maybe.
the next day. Ice cream. Never addresses it again.
What about you, Chris? Have you seen Battle Royale before?
I definitely have, yeah. When I was in high school, this was one of those movies I feel like that was kind of passed around or recommended as like, you gotta see this crazy movie, or this, over the top gory film. And so friends of mine had gotten a hold of it, and I've seen it probably twice before this watching.
2-timer for Chris. What about you, Mike?
This is the first time I've ever gotten through this movie.
Wow.
Not that and I don't want to suggest that I'm like, it was so boring or I didn't like it or anything like that. There's this like weird fate that I had with this movie that every time I tried to watch it, like an emergency would happen, like
Another one of
15
these.
minutes into it, and I'd have to leave, and then I would never come back to it. And then I'd try it again, and it'd be like, hey, we need you down here right now. Your brother is stuck at a bus station. Or like, it'd be like,
Bad luck keeps
fuck.
interfering.
Yeah, and that happened to me a lot. I'm glad that it didn't happen this time. I thought it was like cursed or something for a second.
I feel like this for me, I don't know how many times I've seen this movie, but it's a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen this movie a lot.
That's interesting. Like, I'm glad Chris brought up like it being traded around. So the little backstory: this movie wasn't released in America due to a number of weird reasons that the production company was worried about legal issues. But so it was hard to find this movie, and I don't know if you guys remember. Do you guys remember LimeWire?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
LimeWire, the trading, the little peer-to-peer trading.
Vile,
Yeah. So the way that I finally saw this movie is I found it on LimeWire and I started downloading it. And this is back when my parents did not pay for cable, so this was over dial-up. So 3 days later,
Oh, a family of thieves.
3 days later, I sat down and watched it, and like the build-up was worth it. I feel like because I was like super blown away. And I guess I should have covered this about why I picked it. Since you couldn't find this film, I actually went to Barnes & Noble and bought the book and just read the book. I was like, I'll just live through my imagination until I can finally see this film. But the copy I saw was all fucking dark and weird, and it was clearly a shitty rip.
Yeah, I don't know when I feel like I was in high school when I saw this too, and I feel like I saw it like several times in high school, and I don't know how I got a hold of it. I don't remember how I got a hold of it, but I feel like it was a DVD.
Yeah.
I
definitely
remember being like 2001 or something, like, and in New York, and some kid being like, I have a copy of this. And me not knowing what the film was at all, and just being like, okay, cool, I guess. I don't know what that means. And he's like, no, this like film is like banned. You can't find it here or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, what was the reason behind it?
So yeah, it was never actually banned. It was essentially what happened was Columbine happened,
Right.
and American like legal counsel for Toei Studios told them like, look, this type of thing is going to do poorly with test audiences right now.
Okay.
Just going to do terribly. And even to the point that I feel like, if I remember correctly, I read that some lawyer or advisor said that like you could potentially be like put in jail for like indecency because of this film.
Uh-huh.
So they were what the studio did was they didn't enter into a lot of conversations about distributing this, and when they did, they put in a lot of really insane like stipulations.
Okay.
So no U.S. distribution company would fucking touch it.
Yeah.
And it was by what they wanted. They did not want it to come out in here because they were worried about legal backlash and shit.
Got it.
Nobody wanted to take that risk.
Yeah, and it wasn't until 2010 when Anchor Bay picked it up for a DVD release.
Yeah.
Now this thing is like a fucking culture juggernaut. Like seriously, it's insane. Think about it. Like Battle Royale is now a fucking game mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude.
and like a game style. It's insane.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts.
And it's like this movie culturally is like, come on, fucking Hunger Games. Let's talk about that real quick.
I mean,
Let's get that out of
that's
here.
the film that it's always been like. I remember, and since this is my first time actually watching the full thing. I mean, I'd always heard about it, but only during the Hunger Games thing, like where the movie came out, and people coming up to me like, "Oh, it's just copying off of Battle Royale." At the time, I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about.
Yeah.
But you got to say that like the comparisons are pretty clear.
Pretty fucking yep.
Yeah.
Essentially the plot of both.
This was based on a book, right?
Well, so is Hunger Games. Hunger Games book based on a book
I'm
series.
curious which one came first.
The book came out in 1999. Well, the book was written in 96, but came out in 99 for Battle Royale.
Battle Royale came out
Yeah, and
first.
Hunger Games came out way later, right?
No, it was close. It was, well, actually, yeah, I think the book started coming out probably around 2000. The first book came out around 2000.
Okay.
And the movies, I think, came out around 2010.
Got it.
Which actually, I think we could probably thank Hunger Games because I think because it's a similar concept, something like Battle Royale suddenly looked
Oh yeah, this
very
thing
like
popped up on. I remember this popping up on Netflix,
yeah.
and me
So-
being like, "Oh, this is finally my chance to watch this film." And
Right.
like,
And that's the first time I watched it in like a good version that
Yeah.
wasn't like dark and shit. So, but yeah, it's kind of an interesting history on the book is the book to movie like form is pretty close.
Really?
Honestly, like the thing that you get with the book is the book dives a lot more into like the characters' backstories, and that backstory kind of tells you why they go the direction they do when they get to the island in terms of personality. So, yeah, Cody, you look really confused.
No, I was just reading here that the Hunger Games actually came out in 2008. The books did.
okay,
The first book was 2008. Catching Fire was 2009, and
Oh,
then
okay.
Mockingjay 2010.
So
Yeah.
well after,
Well after.
well after.
yeah. I
And
mean, we can get into a
And I would say like this.
argument about or debate about this.
It's not worth it. We know there's an influence.
Oh, there's
obviously.
definitely an influence.
There's definitely similarities for sure, but like I don't know. I heard a good argument actually recently, specifically about this because somebody brought up the argument of like, well, look at Avatar and Dances with Wolves,
Fern Gully.
Fern Gully as well. Those three. Somebody, it was some podcast or YouTube show, and they were like, "I'm going to describe a movie to you," and he describes it, and it's like, well, that's either Fern Gully, Dances with Wolves, or Avatar.
Yeah.
And then, but when you look at Battle Royale and Hunger Games, there's similar themes, but the plots both take completely different directions in the
Yeah.
setup. So it's like, I don't know, I'm on the fence.
The government pits kids against each other.
Yeah. It's pretty similar, man.
On an island.
I think the author said
Filled with
she had
danger
never read
zones.
this book or whatever, heard of this before she wrote it. So
I mean, it's possible.
That's yeah.
What did I hear today? I heard this today. Okay, this is a tie into this, guys. I promise.
Here it comes.
A little fact: when Dennis the Menace was created,
I already like where
there
it's
was
going.
another character overseas in the UK called Dennis the Menace that came out at the same year, and neither one of the authors knew each other, or had any idea who they were.
Yeah.
Like, and yet it was the exact same comic strip. Like some kid named Dennis walking around a neighborhood, like causing trouble.
That's so weird.
There was something
It's
I
really
think.
weird.
There's something. I think what I heard was the author of Hunger Games. She was flipping through channels and she was going back and forth between like the Iraq like war like news footage of that
Uh-huh.
and like MTV's like some reality show. She kept going back and forth and she's like, "Huh, a reality show about people killing themselves."
Well, didn't the director of this film say he wanted to direct this film because because of him working in the munitions during World War II, and they got like bombed or some shit like that, and the kids had to pile on top of each other, and the ones that survived had to like dispose of the bodies.
So I don't know, but this is fucking dark as
Yeah,
shit.
this is
know
dark
either.
as shit. I hadn't heard that before, but
We were
pretty sure-
kind of having a little fun.
I'm pretty
and then
sure-
you told that story.
we're having a great time. I have not heard that before.
Stated that he directed this is on Wikipedia. He said
Take it how you
There
will.
we go.
He stated that he decided to direct this film because the novel it was adapted from reminded him of his time as a 15-year-old munitions factory worker during World War II. At that time, his class was made to work in the munitions factory. In July of 1945, the factory came under artillery fire. The children could not escape, so they dived under each other for cover. The surviving members of the class had to dispose of the corpses. At that point, the director realized
Jesus.
that the Japanese government was lying about World War II, and he developed a burning hatred of adults in general that he maintained for a long time
Wow,
afterwards.
That is insane.
That's fucking crazy right there.
Fascinating. I mean, that.
But when you read that or hear that, you can see it
Yeah.
physically, and
Yeah.
emotionally in this film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Like, one thing I will say is I've seen this movie a lot. I feel like this watch for me was the first time I watched it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
I actually I had the same experience on this watch because before it was always this you watch it's funny these movies that are like hard to find or they're coveted or they're whispered about and shit and rumored about you like watch those movies just for the for the sheer badge that comes with it.
Yeah,
like,
just to see what
I've seen
happens.
this shit.
Yeah.
I know what goes on and then when I was like way into like gore and
Yep,
like special
same here.
effects as a kid. I was just like I want to see all the blood and
That's
this
why I
watch
watched this
through
one.
and I'm like watching I'm like. There's like some psychological shit going on in this movie.
Yeah.
Actually, holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. I had the same I had the same feeling.
We should probably get to.
You know what? We should probably get to what this movie's about with plots. With Mike.
So you guys know the Hunger Games? It's just like that movie. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No,
God
that's
damn it.
great. You could just end it there.
No, so it's this school of kids. They're on their way to a field trip, and their bus is essentially the whole bus is what's going on? Oh God,
I can't whistle right now. Otherwise, I would do the Katniss whistle.
Yeah, their whole bus gets kidnapped. They take the whole class and they take them to this secret facility on this solitary island, and it's all based on this teacher from a few years ago that was at their school. His name is Kitano, and they've passed something called, what is it, the Battle Royale Act?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Battle Royale Act, where these kids have to get on this island and basically go in an all-out death match, and the last one standing gets to go home.
Yeah.
And they have all these mechanisms in place so that you can't just camp out and shit. They have a way to keep the game going that they kind of influence the kids to really kind of be able to attack each other. And then what obviously results is there's this weird fucking mirror into humanity that no one wants to acknowledge, I think. It's the best way to describe it. A lot of these kids are gripping with the idea, can I kill my friends?
Dude.
And some are really good at yeah, I'm gonna kill some fucking friends right now.
Friends, what's that?
Oh man. There's such great storytelling in so many little segments. It's amazing in this movie.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
just pure human fucking emotions. It's fantastic. With that being said, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Battle Royale. And we're back. We're talking about Battle Royale. Came out in 2000. I swear I saw it before 2010.
That would be
Yeah,
before
I'm
2010.
sure. High school.
Then you would have saw it probably around high school.
I had to have.
Yeah.
Had to have. And this movie, at the first, so as I was saying, I feel like this was the best watch I've had of this movie since I've started watching this movie. Because before, I've always watched it for more or less the entertainment value of the creative deaths and the gore and stuff like that. That's always, again, when you said that, I was perfectly of what I've watched. This watch around, watching the characters' reactions and the acting and the emotion that goes into this movie, man, it had to be fucking draining to work on this thing.
Dude, and they all seem, and I'm pretty sure they're all the actors are all in that age group. It wasn't a bunch of 18-year-olds playing a bunch of 13-year-olds.
They're supposed to be
14-year-olds.
junior high.
Yeah, they're 14, 15 is around the age.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's some pretty solid performances out of all these actors, and I noticed it this time around.
Says they did 6,000 auditions, so they really narrowed
Holy
it down to the
shit.
best.
Well, I mean,
6,000 auditions?
I mean, you got to think
How the
there's-
fuck did this film ever get filmed?
Get made.
How many people do you have to go through?
6,000.
No, I know, but how long can you look at somebody?
I mean,
how many people? Mike,
6,000.
Right, I know, but 6,000?
But how many?
6,000.
You guys are throwing math at me. I'm not getting it. What I'm asking you is how many people?
Okay, then they narrowed it to 800 and then picked 42 out of that.
Dude, isn't that crazy? A
That's
cast of
fucking
42 is huge.
Yeah.
And they do, this movie does what I want to praise this movie for a lot is doing such a great job of taking those characters and then giving them these little side stories, just enough for you to care about each one of them.
Well, what I loved okay, so this is my thought when we first got into the room in the beginning where they encounter their ex-teacher who is now ready to send them out to battle. I was like, God damn, they're going to go through 42 of these right now. And then I was like, whoa, actually, no, they did it really well in a way that it didn't feel like it dragged on.
This movie never stops from when they get out of that classroom.
The pace felt right.
The thing is, and I noticed it really this time through, is that they do a good job of peppering in little tiny bits of strange humor.
Yes.
Odd humor you're not expecting to have happen. And even talking about the bag scene, you have it's the fourth or fifth kid, and he misses the bag, he doesn't catch it,
Slips.
and he slips and falls, and it's this weird thing. But you can see this it's a dark humor moment because it's funny, but he's also about to go to battle with all of these fucking classmates, and it's dark.
The acting is, I would say some of the characters are big. You know, you mentioned that character, the very first guy who ends up, getting called on. He's very like animated and big too. But a lot of those characters are, I would say, filler in a sense. Like they do have their little stories, but they're kind of there just for the extra kills.
You know what it felt like? But here's the thing, and I think it's kind of what you're talking about a little bit too. Is this felt like a collection of like really small really small shorts,
like vignettes.
Yeah, vignettes.
Yes, like vignettes, exactly. Where each little kill was like a tale, and it told like a really brief thing that got you attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, it wasn't like part of the overall arcing story.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a bunch of little shorts inside of a bigger feature film.
Yeah, which in a book could be different chapters, like focusing on these different characters.
Well, right, you got your because you got your two main characters that we're going to focus on in this movie, which is
Nanahara. Yep, Nanahara and Nakagawa.
Nakagawa, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those two, and that's who we're mostly going to follow for most of the film. But then it branches off into different characters, and some of them are more memorable than others.
Right.
And
40 others.
Yeah, 40 others, but some of them get bigger roles than others, and it makes the 2 hours fly by. And then some of these vignettes are like beautifully told. Like my favorite one, and just to kind of jump into it a little bit, because with this movie, there's so much that happens, we're probably going to be all over the place. But my favorite one is I can't remember her name, but it's the jogger.
Oh yes,
yeah. Her name is Chigusa. Chigusa.
Yeah,
you're right.
Chigusa.
Mm-hmm.
Which, side note, that's Go-Go from Kill Bill.
Yes,
her weapon
That
was
is?
the
Yeah,
switchblade.
that's Go-Go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That whole scene is phenomenal, where she's like jogging and the guy's behind her and keeping time,
It
and
was
then
shot well,
and
so
then,
well.
and then it just cuts, and you're like, because you think she's having a flashback, but then you realize she's jogging on the island, and she's just either imagining this or like living in that. And then the crazy guy who's always been in love with her. There's a lot of that in this movie.
A lot of young love.
There's a lot of we haven't talked about it in a long time, but there's a lot of young love.
we just did, yeah.
Last week we did.
There's a lot of
It's been a long time. It's been a long time, Kyle.
a long week.
7 fucking days.
there's a lot of unrequited love in this too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of just
But it's great.
anger, seething anger.
But it's also good because it some of it is very realistic in the fact of where it's like this kid has this crush on this girl. She obviously doesn't have the same feeling for him. But then he goes fucking psycho, and he's like, "Listen, I'm gonna fucking." He's like, "I'm gonna rape you." And she's like, "Fucking do it! I dare you."
Yeah.
Just fucking try it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries, and she fucks him up. I mean, I audibly was just like, "Oh!" When she starts stabbing him in the dick.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I forgot about that scene
Man,
too.
so did I. And I
Jesus.
was just like, oh, fuck. But then her story's so good of her getting chased down and her getting fucked up by
I think I felt
that was by Masiku or fuck,
Mitsuku is the one that shoots her.
shoots her.
Yeah.
And then she gets that scene at the end, which I didn't really of her death, which I really didn't really understand. Again, the jogger. She's laying up against that boy, and she asked if he had a crush on her, and if she had a crush on someone that wasn't her.
Yeah.
She got shot, right? That's why she's
Yes.
dying.
Yeah.
Because when she was running away, she got shot.
I believe
yeah.
in the gut or something like
Yeah,
that.
'cause
Right.
it took me a second to remember, why is she
But
dying?
he basically says he doesn't have a crush on her.
Well, she asked, do you love anyone? And he's like, yes. Is it me? No. Is
Yeah.
what he says.
Did anybody get?
But that's a lie.
Why does he lie to her then? What do you think that that's what I was thought too, and I was
the thing
wondering
that I was kind of piecing together, and I don't know if there's any accuracy to this, but if you go back to the conversation she has with the guy with the crossbow and the conversation that the hackers have a little bit, they all kind of indicate that she's kind of the one that's pined after by all the boys. Like they all hit on her and they all want to be with her, and almost like him being like, "No, I'm not in love with you," is almost like a comforting thing to her.
Gotcha.
And I think he kind of understood
Fucking
that
brilliant. That's
in
brilliant.
that moment.
That's better than what I thought it
Dude,
was.
that's
I thought
fucking
he
brilliant.
was coming out.
Because I can see that.
I thought he was gay.
Really?
I thought that's what they were implying. That,
Oh, I didn't get
I
that.
didn't get that
I
at
didn't get
all.
that at all.
Wow, now I want to rewatch it with that mindset.
well, no, the only reason why I was like, but I don't understand. Who was he in love with then?
The hackers say, I can't remember.
Is it the most attractive girl in school, the runner?
That's who we're talking about. He says he's not in love with her.
Okay.
Right.
And she's like, well, let me just die here in your arms, basically.
Yeah, because they have a moment where they could kiss.
Like-
And it looks like that's going to happen.
Right.
And then it never happens. And I'm thinking like, oh, maybe it's because he isn't physically attracted to her. Maybe he loves her.
That's not the same. Sorry,
Yeah.
we're saying the guy, this guy, that guy. But like, is it the person at the end when when she's hiding up
No.
behind the barrels and
That's
she
a-
shoots him?
No, different.
That's not the same.
No.
Okay.
Different one.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
The guy with the
different
tracker who's looking for the girl. For
Because
the
I was
whole
like,
time,
oh,
no.
that's his crush.
That's the same guy.
That's
No.
his crush.
The guy with the tracker is the same guy
Is it?
in both those scenes. So his real crush is
She kills
the
him.
one that he's in love with is the one that kills him. The runner is
Shoots
the
him.
one that he like, is like he helped her train and practice, and I
Dude,
think,
I
I
gotta
think
get-
he was like almost enamored with.
I
it.
gotta
It's
get
like a
better
weird.
with. I gotta get better with names.
That's fine.
It's all right. We're getting through it.
Okay. So that guy is in love with another girl
Who
That-
shoots him at the
who
end?
shoots him at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, but
There's
she,
too many
but
fucking
he never,
kids in
he
this.
never,
That's what I'm saying,
he
man.
never
42.
said that he was in love. So that was her thing. She's like, you never said
That's
anything
right.
to me.
God damn it.
And he's like, because I love you, and that's. I think
So his
the
best
runner
fr-
took
Oh.
the comfort out of knowing
his
that
best
one person
friend-
wasn't into her.
His best
That's-
friend.
Yes.
His best friend was the runner,
Yes.
and the runner was in love with him, but
Right.
he was in love with another girl. He was just friends.
And
with
she
her.
was getting chased after by all the other guys
Mm-hmm.
except for the one she wanted and stuff. So yeah, there's
Goddamn-
like a fucking,
goddamn brilliant.
A whole web of love.
That's what, that was kind of my point. Is there's such deep storytelling within this movie.
yeah.
And like on an emotional level where you see these kids go, a lot of these kids, which I think was true for this age, especially this is kind of when you start discovering like the opposite sex. They're going through this heartbreak. And not only are they going through this heartbreak, I want to talk about one of the other main characters who I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the fucking teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody else think that he
Was sexually involved with what's her fuck? I did.
I didn't think that,
clearly,
but
not
I didn't
sexually.
I didn't
but
think he
headed.
But headed that direction?
I kind of got the vibe that he was almost like a plant for the government, and he was in that class.
Dude, no, him and his
Never
no,
thought
there's
about
weird
that.
there's weird he has a weird relationship with Nakagawa.
He does.
Where
he is emotionally attached to her, but
He's in
she's
love
not
with her.
emotionally attached.
I
to
feel
him.
like he's in but he's weirdly in love with her, and she has a weird dream about him.
right.
But here's the thing I don't understand. If that was like a relationship, like why did he send her out into the thing?
I don't
What?
Fucking the light is just slowly dropping to the floor right now.
I didn't know. Oh, I was like, what are you laughing at?
what's happening.
Yeah, we need to fix
You
that.
want to fix that really quick?
Yeah,
All right.
Cody,
The
you're
thing was
back there.
sliding down.
Yeah.
Continue the show, guys.
Now we'll wait.
Where was I? I don't even remember because all the
Nakagawa being
I
in
was
love with her
talking.
teacher,
Yeah.
or possibly not, and him being just obsessed.
He's in love with her.
Mike, I was talking.
Is that what I said?
I don't know. Did you?
Got mad.
I didn't hear that.
Got fucking angry, I guess.
Sorry, Mike. Where were we? I was talking.
Oh no, you were saying where was I? Like I was like, no, I was talking.
See? I will no.
Okay, I guess I said it like that.
No. I was talking.
Oh my
sorry,
God.
Mike.
Just trying to keep some continuity. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
Continue.
Now
Apparently
I
you
fucking
were-
forgot what I was
apparently
saying.
you were talking, Mike.
Nakagawa and the teacher being
Yeah.
in love with her and that
Oh.
weird relationship.
Dreams.
If the thing I don't understand is if Nakagawa and the teacher had some sort of weird like love for each other, right? Either one of them. Like I don't understand why would Kitano send her out into the death game?
He wanted. Well, he definitely says at the end like he wanted her to win.
He wanted
could
her to win
choose.
for sure, but
But he couldn't.
what it comes
Yeah.
down,
But he was still going to kill
wasn't
himself. He was
manipulating
waiting
the
to
game.
the end to kill
the
himself
the
with
thing,
her.
The thing we have to remember is the rules of the Battle Royale Act. And the rules state that they find the worst group, the most disrespectful group of class, and that is basically who kind of gets elected. They say it's at random in the book. I think that's not totally random. I can't remember, but
And now they all just happen to be in the same class.
Yeah.
You want to know? You want to know how you?
Well, I was getting the
Nope.
impression that the teacher had a say in that though, right? Like he got stabbed,
Yeah.
and he was like,
no,
this
he got
is the
his
fucking...
ass cut.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay.
They cut his ass.
They
They
did
cut his ass.
They
Okay.
did cut his
That's the
ass.
worst thing you could do.
Anyways, he cut him in the ass.
Literally, not an
Literally.
expression.
Yeah.
And I was under the impression that he went to the government somehow and said, you know who a bunch of fucking assholes? These kids that stabbed me.
I now
I think
walk
so
with
too.
a limp. They cut my ass.
I think
How is
so
it
too.
so coincidental that he ends up with the same? He can't be the only
But then no-
agent
right.
of
No,
this.
but
There's
there's
no
this,
way.
there's this
Right?
weird. There's this because he has this weird hatred for kids. He has, and
Yeah, they stabbed him in
no,
the ass.
it's they make it deeper
Cut
than
his
that. They
ass.
make it deeper than
That
that
cut was
when
pretty
his
deep.
daughter calls him and then tells him how smelly his fucking breath is over the phone.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he says he has a terrible relationship with his kid. His marriage.
But and he's lonely, and he
Yeah.
like that's and that somewhere in there's that weird relationship with Nakagawa.
I don't really
It's a
necessarily
fantasy.
see. I don't necessarily. Okay, so I'll
Do you
say
think it's his fantasy?
it's
Yes.
it's totally his fantasy.
Yes.
I feel like her dream and the big takeaway from her dream, regardless of how strange it was she says, "I had a dream about him and he was lonely."
Yes.
And that I think that's the big takeaway. I think we're trying to frame this character
But-
as this. I think it's an opportunity to give this character a little bit of humanity and make the audience start to actually kind of feel shitty for this guy
It
because he's
didn't
kind
work
of
for
Didn't
me.
work.
That part didn't because I was like, "What is this pedophile
well
doing?"
because
Yeah.
that scene's immediately scene's immediately followed up with his conversation with his daughter.
yeah.
So it's
Oh, I
like it's
didn't-
trying to build on that.
You guys were talking sexual? I was just talking about like just
No, this
like
is definitely
no,
like
I feel
a.
like he has
Oh,
like a
This
crush.
is definitely like a crushy sexual
Yeah.
kind
See,
of
I
thing.
didn't see it that way. I thought
I
it was
did.
like a father-daughter thing.
No.
Oh, weird.
No,
it's not like a weird
not.
effect.
I'm not
I feel
painting
like
a bunch of
the
dead kids
painting-
around my
the,
angel
the
daughter.
painting shows that it's a weird infatuation of
Yeah.
his part. He's infatuated.
Well,
with
not
her.
only that,
Well,
like,
that- yeah,
can I
that-
ask
I
a
mean,
question?
yeah.
Can I ask a question? Because I didn't know how to take this one either. Do you think that's like? Do you think him walking out there with the fucking umbrella in the middle of the rainstorm when she meets Nanahara out in the middle of nowhere when he's all injured and he hands her the umbrella? Do you think that actually happened? I questioned at a point if that really happened or not.
I think that actually happened.
Like,
Yeah.
because I was just like, where the fuck did he come from? Like, it's a very weird scene. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, it does seem strange that he would go out there, but he's also not. Clearly, all these kids are terrified of him, so I feel like he has no qualm about going out there. And also, going off of the infatuation thing, I almost feel like it's an endearing act where, regardless of what happens to him, he wants to bring an umbrella to this girl. It's just a strange scene. It's so fucking
so
visually weird, but
And he's like, "You look good," or something like that. He makes some weird comment.
he makes a ton of weird
yeah,
comments
he
throughout
makes
this
a
whole
weird
movie,
comment
man.
for sure.
You
You're
guys
better
having
than
fun?
I thought you would, or
You
something.
guys having fun?
I love. Though I gotta say, I
love
love
that
his
shit.
character in the beginning when they're watching the video.
Oh, he says,
And he's
yeah.
like responding to the video. Is like, "Hey, happy, yay! Everyone clap!" It's like
that video
it's
is where
dark
some
humor.
of that humor comes in for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, but
yeah.
then shit gets real when he's like, "No whispering!" He throws a knife in a girl's head.
Oh,
Wow.
right in between the eyes.
Yep.
That's as an audience member first seeing this movie. That's when you know it's like, all right, they're not playing around. They're killing kids in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this question: do you have a favorite death, or maybe a favorite character, or favorite scene? Like, what stuck out to you the most? I have a favorite scene that I really
why don't
enjoy.
you start?
I'll start with it. My favorite scene is it's after they're in the clinic and the one kid with the Uzi comes and like shoots up the clinic, and then Nanahara fires off the shots and runs away, and then ends up getting injured, and the other kid finds him and takes him into the lighthouse.
right.
And that whole scene,
The lighthouse scene.
the whole lighthouse
Yeah.
scene, dude, is the best scene in this movie.
Yeah.
Hands down. Watching those girls snap
Yeah.
in a fucking instant,
Yeah.
where the one girl who did it is just cowering in the corner while the other ones go
She's
insane.
just watching all the shit she
When
caused
she
happen.
knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you really watch her, like I actually forgot about this, but I for some reason was drawn to what she was doing, and like the way she would react, timing to the other girls reacting in the scene. I was like, this is very like masterfully
Dude,
played
put
out.
together,
Yeah.
how that whole
Yeah.
scene is put together is amazing.
Again, it felt like something like that. Definitely like a Tarantino film would have in it.
Mhm.
Like another kind of like thing that he probably does a lot in his films that maybe came from this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That scene feels like you can see it's like a character driven meltdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like where all the girls, and as they're arguing, you're seeing the individual traits come out where before they were just like introduced to you as just
kind
a
and-
group of girls that were so kind, and then all of a sudden you're like, that's a jealous one. This girl did this to her. Oh my
Yeah.
god, this one doesn't like her for this reason.
Yeah.
Like, and you're seeing it all happen, and they're killing each other. And there's this girl, the only one they're not like going after,
Yeah.
basically, is like the one that caused this whole fucking
like,
shit.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about it is it how emotionally grounded it is in reality, but then like the action is somewhat just over the top with like how many bullets they're spraying into
yeah.
each other. You know what I mean? So it's like this beautifully done scene of like emotionally you're watching these people crack pretty fucking realistically, but the physical that goes with it is a little bit over the top, which is just matched
Yeah.
perfectly with it.
Speaking of guns, like I thought that was funny because there's a scene where they're explaining the bags. And he's just like, some of you will have good weapons,
I
and
know.
some of you will have bad ones. And I'm thinking, and some will have guns that never run out of fucking bullets.
Yeah, no
that
shit.
fucking guy with the Uzi, like,
Never.
he is just indiscriminately
Like
shooting
the
into
bag,
the air.
I
He's
feel like the
fucking-
bag he got was one Uzi and 800 mags of ammo. Like,
Definitely.
He's just laying them out, and like no one runs out of bullets in this.
no one does. The thing I really loved about and when I read the book, it had me like dying laughing. But the concept of non-weapon objects being in the bags, and Nanahara gets a goddamn pot lid, and he's like,
so
"What the
good.
hell am I gonna do with this?" And then he actually uses it to defend himself later. That was fucking hilarious.
That dude, oh man, we want to talk about another great moment is when they roll down that hill and the axe ends up in that kid's head and he's just like, I'm fine, and then flips over dead. Fucking
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Great
There's a couple of those
Great
deaths where it's like the death happens and they're like, but everything's fine, and then just like slowly dies. If I want to talk about one of my favorite scenes, and I think like best character kind of driven scene is when Mixiku, the crazy chick, the
Yes.
crazy bitch with the
Mitsuko.
scythe, Mixiku.
Yeah.
When her first kill, which is Nanahara's girl's best friend, she's looking at all the photos hidden in the shack.
Yes.
That whole scene is just, for some reason, was just really, it was just so full of tension
Yeah.
and shit. And she's like, "Oh, you're looking at pictures? Oh, is this pictures?" And she's like, No, you can't look at my pictures. And like they go back and forth about what weapon she has. And then like she fucking just slits her fucking throat open with that scythe. I just thought was so powerful and so
before
like
that,
emotional.
She turns into like a panther, like going after its prey,
Yeah.
like jumping around that room and going after her and
Mhm.
stuff. You know, I'm like, okay. I was reading that they did do quite like 6 months of like training to do all the physical stunts and stuff in this movie.
Nice.
And it shows because it really, like you said, the tension is there, and you know they are doing some things that feel very like acrobatic almost.
The only thing they did wrong with her,
Oh.
the only thing they did wrong with her
Mm.
is her little backstory that they give where her mom sells her to a pedophile. And then we're supposed to think like she's this born killer because she basically kills a pedophile by throwing him down the stairs.
You didn't like her backstory?
I thought that was fucking cool.
I thought her backstory was perfect
But,
for
like,
her.
it-
It
like,
showed
no-
showed how she became like hard and
I
like
think-
emotionless.
But it didn't. But
She's
like,
kind of evil.
but it didn't make her evil. Like it made it more sympathy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
beforehand, I'm like, oh, she's the evil
Yeah,
pretty
right.
girl.
Exactly.
Oh man, cool. And then that happened. And I was like, oh no, she was just like her
See, but I
mom was
think-
a
I think
fucking
it's-
drug
Yeah, but
addict
that's like
and
that
like tried to
bring
sell
this
her.
film
That's the
like
thing.
over.
That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Like that because that happened. You understand why she is so detached. I feel like from humanity as a whole.
I think that things like that show the humanity
Yes.
that brings this film over just a blood fest where kids like it's not a gimmick.
Yes.
Like it's not a gimmick anymore. Now it's like a dramatic like holy shit. Like oh that makes sense. And then you're looking at it and you're like wow that was really well done.
It shows how damaged each of these kids are. That's
Right.
what I was going to say. It's like all these kids have been damaged by adults,
Oh,
and
yeah.
now adults are forcing them
haven't-
to
and I'm-
kill each other and cross a
We
new
haven't even
threshold.
gotten like Nanahara's like thing with his dad dying with his pants down.
I was gonna make another Tarantino thing, but okay.
You mentioned
I mean-
pants down. I got to stop what I'm saying.
Guys, I mean, you can mention Tarantino. Go ahead, pants are down.
It's like that scene in Kill Bill when they're explaining Lucy Liu's character,
Yeah.
her backstory of why she became a killer, and then
Mhm.
you find out it's the same kind of shit. She was like forced into prostitution or whatever. What was the story with her?
Well, the story
She was molested,
the story
right?
was no, the story was that a Yakuza gang leader came and murdered her.
Right.
Her father raped her mother,
Yeah.
and she got into child prostitution because he was a pedophile.
Right.
And that was her way of getting to him and getting access to him. And that just kind of set her mind into that kind of
So it's
world.
like, yeah, but that didn't make her any less of a fucking badass evil. Like, see, that's what I like about the villains in this film are like, I don't have to feel they're all badass
Yeah.
in a weird way.
Yes. With the exception, the only one that we don't know anything about is the transfer student.
Who's still
all we
badass.
know, and honestly, I think it's done very beautifully in this film. Is all we know is he's the only guy who volunteered, which makes him like
Yeah.
Well, him and
that much more evil than everyone else on
He's
the
just
island.
bloodthirsty.
oh yeah, he is the only one that volunteered.
He's the only one that volunteered to join this shit.
They needed to put that. I think it's good that they had that element in this of just a rogue dude who is literally just out there mowing down indiscriminately, because all these kids are going through that mental turmoil where it's like, I don't want to kill my friend. Some are like, I'm going to kill I don't care. I want to survive. And some just kill themselves, which a lot of them just end up committing
That's
suicide.
true. There's a good number of them just end up killing themselves.
I think my favorite kill of his is because it's so damaging and and really good is when the girls are on the top of the North Mountain and they're like trying to get everyone together because they're like, we'll figure this out, we'll get out of this together, you know. And Nanahara is like, yeah, dude, we'll let's go join them, like we'll get out of this together, like we have the same mindset, let's do this. And then that dude just walks up behind them and guns them down and then gets on the megaphone while one's screaming in agony as she's dying and just plays that over the valley. Like fucking brutal. Brutal, dude.
Very fucking brutal.
But you know, but it does beg the question. Like as you're watching this film, you ask yourself, like, "Fuck, how would I react in that situation?"
Yeah, exactly. This is one of
Like,
those.
you can't help but put yourself in these kids.
This is one of those movies
places.
that we've all been in school. We've all had friends and stuff and frenemies as we were growing up, and we're like, "Fuck, what would happen when we were thrown into this fucking situation?" I feel like that's why this movie works as well as even if it's on dark levels, because it is something that we can all, like you said, put ourselves into.
I mean, like the one, like specifically, I think the saddest fucking story is the one from Kawada, who is the like weird kind of like the other strange, mysterious kid that everybody thinks is like he gets all these weapons. He has no problem killing a little bit, but for whatever reason, he like takes these other two kids with him and like kind of protects them to some extent, right? And then he tells his story about how he was a winner of the last Battle Royale.
Yeah.
And that he had to do it based on the sacrifice of his girlfriend, which you find out like is this terrible tale that he tells where like they're the last two left and she fires the first shot to kill him.
Right.
And in reaction, he shoots her.
Yeah. And she wanted that.
Yeah.
She wanted to die. Like she wanted
but, like,
him
it's
to
such a
live. It's
nuts
such a
kinda,
fucking
like, yeah.
insane
And he wants-
concept.
He said that she smiled right before she died and said something, and
She said thank you.
He wanted to know what it meant, and so he was back to find that out.
Yeah. Like
But
there's shit like that where I'm just like, God damn, this brings us over just like a
Well, back to
like
what
an
you just
action
said,
film.
though, like, I guess I'm sure there's an explanation for this, and it's probably goes into more detail, like in the book or something, but yeah, why does he take a liking to these specific two people? Did they explain that?
I think
They go into the thing about the book is like the book just it just spends a lot of time with almost not, I'm not gonna say all of the students, but a lot of the students, and spends whole chapters actually focusing just on their backstory. So what we got in the film were just snippets of these really expanded upon stories, and yeah, it does help to kind of tell us as the reader why they are making the decisions they're making now based on previous stuff that has happened to them in the past.
I do want to say that you never see Kawada shoot anybody that isn't trying to already kill someone else.
Right.
Like that's what I took from it, is that like, well, you never really actually see him shoot at anybody unless they're either trying to kill someone else or they're trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what led me to believe like he recognized that they were not killers, and it's just like, well, I still have humanity.
And I also
don't
think he
want to
saw a
kill
little
an
bit of
innocent.
him and his girlfriend's
I think
relationship
there's
in them
that
as well.
mirror,
And there's
that
like
definitely,
yeah, for sure.
For sure. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Battle Royale.
Every time it's good, I just want to go like, my baby don't mess around, you know. Chris starts doing his dance.
Oh, look, Kryle just
You
activated
can't not
instantly.
shimmy to that song. That song is
It
a.
actually
what
has
activates-
shimmy in that song.
That song activates Kryle.
It unites them.
Do you want
It
to?
unites them like
Yeah.
it's like the rings. But
Morphing into each other.
hey, and they go.
If
they
we're-
just start
if-
dancing together.
If we're in a battle royale and we need a real clutch move, just turn that song on.
Yeah.
Me and Chris will be like,
I can just see this.
Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
See this like two-headed abomination. Looks like something out of fucking society. Like
They fall. Both of them just fall out of frame, and then they both pop up, just attached to each other.
all gelatinous and melty.
It hurts so bad. It's not even.
My baby,
It's not even a superpower. It's really painful for them.
"Oh shit! Who do we need to kill? This hurts."
Why did they even transform? It's not even needed. It really just hurts
The
them.
sheer
Why did you put the
intensity
song
of
on,
their
Cody?
vibrations together cause them to melt.
Why did they become Cryo right now? They don't even help anyone. They just complain about the
Definitely
pain
not
they're
helpful in this current battle.
what are we gonna call this creature? We'll call it the outcast.
The outcast.
in. Kill us now. We have 2 stomachs and we're so hungry.
Beat us.
Oh
All right, here we go.
And we're back. We're talking about Battle Royale. Let's get into some more, maybe of the technical stuff right now. I mean, there's plenty of other characters to talk about too we haven't gotten into. I don't know where you guys want to go with this. We can talk about the hackers, or we can talk about some of the technical stuff.
Technical could bring characters into the mix too. I think if we go into technical.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know
there's
how the music brings it.
So,
Maybe the music student.
Let's
Chris?
go into technical because there's one specific scene that completely stands out to me, and I even said to myself, "This is probably it's the simplest thing, but it's one of the most beautiful shots." And it's God damn it, I'm gonna fucking forget this guy's goddamn name.
There you go.
It's Nanahara's dream
Okay.
with his
Okay.
friend with the basketball.
right.
And that's very, very simple reverse shot where the basketball seems normal and it just keeps growing in height as his friend catches
Yes.
it, and his friend's all fucking gray and dead
Like
looking
yeah,
and shit. Like,
he is dead.
dude, that was a scene. After it was done, I was like, that was fucking beautiful. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so simple.
Well, the way the camera panned with the motion of the bouncing of the ball too, it was again masterful is the best
Yeah.
way I can put it. Like they really captured it in a way that it trips you out for a second.
Oh, I mean, cinematography in this movie. Cinematography? I don't
Yeah,
know
the
why I said it like that.
cinematographer.
The cinematography in this film is top notch, man. I would put it up against pretty much anything else that I've ever seen. Like honestly, it's
Beautiful landscapes, first of all.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, I'm like, where the fuck was this?
dude,
filmed?
I was like, where they film this on the Jurassic Park Island?
Yeah, exactly.
Go
Right?
Hawaii for this?
Yeah, they got everything. They got
Gorgeous,
underground
man.
bunkers.
Gorgeous.
They got
Dude,
island
that whole
rocks.
island is cool, man. Like that whole,
Yeah.
like just the whole set design is awesome. As far as like here's this island where I feel like they restock these things so kids can have a little bit of better, you get a little more
Most
gamemanship out of it.
badass
Yeah.
paintball
which
course
is
ever.
really weird because the weird thing about this is that they've created this game, but they don't use it for entertainment. Like that's the difference between this movie and Hunger Games. There's two differences I feel like between
no,
that
they
movie.
kind of do.
Yeah, so that was the thing that I thought was that was my main gripe with this film and the main discrepancy of this film, which is like the movie opens with a bunch of camera crew, a big camera
Right.
crew, all these people like. And we have the winner here. She's smiling, and it's clearly televised. But when the teacher explains the game to the kids have no idea what he's even talking about.
That's what I was trying to figure out the whole time too.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if this was a Running Man situation
Yeah.
or not. Like,
It wasn't like
Yeah.
it obviously wasn't being filmed in the action. It was more like who's the winner, and they're going to
But
go
see,
report on who's
That's
the winner.
also where I kind of disagree with like you get that perception from that girl who wins it,
Yeah.
but like again another difference from this in the Hunger Games is like the winner of the Hunger Games is like instantly famous, right? Like that's like the thing.
right,
Is like
she
Because it's
becomes-
televised.
Like
Yeah.
she gets like a fucking government position or some shit.
like
And I think in the book,
and this one they're just like, hey, you made it.
I want to say, don't quote me because it's been a while since I've read the book, but I think in the book, like the winners are kind of like kind of shooed away,
But wait a second.
put back under the rug.
That's
like
the part
never
I
seen
don't
again.
Or they
understand.
return.
Is if Kanata won the game,
Mhm.
like how come everyone doesn't know who he is?
Right. So that's the thing that I think is a discrepancy. I don't know if it's necessarily like a public event type of a thing.
Okay.
And that's what I couldn't figure out. I couldn't figure out, is this something that is only known
Well,
to a select few
I
adults
also-
that are aware of it and like the kids are kept on the hush hush about it, or if it's only the actual people who are in the government itself know about this. And
I
it's
also
their
took
way
it
of
as-
dealing with it.
I also took it as that girl who was smiling. That may have been like the first one.
Well, no, because
and this
Kawada
like,
was in
years
number
later.
like 2 or 3.
That's what I'm saying. So the girl who, like, I'm saying that was like a flashback to the very first one, to where like it would have been like, oh, this is a big deal.
Well, I thought they said this
To where
is
now
the
it's-
second Hunger Games, or this Hunger
Second-
Games,
here
the
you go.
second
See
Battle
that?
Royale winner.
Oh, you really love this movie, huh? I can't wait to hear you. I can't wait to hear
And
you give it a
how
5,
long-
Katniss.
We're gonna rate this Katniss.
How many
tonight.
Katnisses are we gonna give this?
How long was the Battle Royale thing going on? Did they say when it was
all
initiated?
I kind of remembered was that the clip we saw, I thought they made a reference to the second winner. So who knows?
So like now I'm wondering if that was
like a
the
new
story
thing.
was. No. I'm saying like in the past when the game started, they were televising it and then they realized how fucking terrible it was, but they kept the program going.
Yeah, I think if anything, it would probably go the path of the opposite.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because wouldn't you want because wouldn't you want to show like my belief behind this is the reason they're doing this is to keep the kids in line. So you
Right.
want to show
Right.
this to the kids, like, hey, if you fuck up,
You could be
if
on
you
Battle Royale.
cut your teacher's ass, you will enforce him to retire because his ass no longer functions correctly.
Well, that's the thing. That's
You
the thing. I
might be on
think
the Hunger
there's. I
Games.
think there. I think
The
that
Battle
might
Royale.
be the case, but again, I think this is the discrepancy of the film because even when the kids are on the bus at the beginning, when they start seeing all the military transports, like a handful of them get really concerned.
Yeah.
They're like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck?"
Like they
is
know
going
what's
on?
kind of like they know what could be going on.
No.
Like they knew that at least there was some reason to be concerned.
Absurd, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
was
think
unusual.
the teacher knew that gets killed?
No,
No.
I think he had no idea.
He had no idea. That's why they killed him because he couldn't see the vision.
He
was feeling
found
like a
it. He
bitch.
found out they got picked.
They say we've contacted your parents and told them. I'm curious, like, so if this isn't a new thing, like, yeah, why wouldn't this be like such a well-known thing? Like, they contact people's parents, say you're in part of this battle royale. They've taken you. You're probably not coming back alive. You know.
Right.
So it would be more well known, I think, if that was the case.
Exactly.
That's why that makes me think this is like an underground experiment kind of thing that they're not really publicizing a lot. Like maybe there is people reporting on it or whatever, and there's like these, you know, maybe this is like the second run, so it's not really gotten out yet. You know, that
Well,
this is
it
a
has to
thing.
be at least number 3 or 4 because Kawada says
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he was
In
a
the
winner like
Mhm.
a year or 2 ago.
And there's only one survivor, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That comes out of it. So there's only one person that the story could really stem from if it didn't come from the inside, the people that are actually a
Right.
part of the. But then again, yeah, the press was there and stuff,
Yeah.
so you'd think it was a well-known thing.
I kind of wish I had been able to go back and kind of reread the book and see exactly how it's laid out. Because I think in the book it's really just a televised kind of event.
Mm,
It's like a well-known event that was designed specifically to help get kids in line.
yeah.
You know,
Well, it seemed like that would be
I
the
think
only
it just
point
wasn't
of doing
translated
this.
well for this
Here's
film.
my thing. Why don't you just, when they're born, just throw those collars on them just from the get go? Here you go.
Dude, those
Blo-
fucking collars, man.
You act out of line, we'll just zap you with
I-
the collar, blow your neck
I
up.
like the whole idea of the collars because it's more than like Genosha and shit where it's like, okay, you wear these, your powers are gone away.
What a great reference, by the way.
it's every time I think of collar, I think of Genosha.
X-Men, Chris.
Anyways,
Chris, the X-Men are...
It's
never mind.
a team of superheroes.
it's more than that to get them
Mutant
not to
powers.
go to run away or anything like
Right.
that, or when they fall out of line. It's to fucking keep the game moving, so that none
Right.
of them just like fucking camp out in a house
Yeah.
and just stay there and just wait for the whole thing to end. It's basically like, no, you got to move because we'll fucking turn a goddamn zone on and you'll die. So don't think you're safe anywhere.
Yeah, well,
Like
that's how
that's
you-
like it's like a handy like what is it in gaming they do this right
Well,
like
yeah.
it's a
handicap.
No,
No, they do it in Battle Royale. They shrink the game zone in,
Oh,
in-
okay.
in
Yeah,
Battle
there we go.
Royale mode in video games. They shrink the game zone basically so that if you're on the outskirts, you're forced into other players eventually to where you're going to have to.
so
move.
it like
Yeah.
it basically like it's like a catalyst for action.
Yes.
Like you have it keeps the game going.
Yes.
I don't know, I
'Cause
just thought it
otherwise
was a
someone could
genius
just
idea.
threats always there.
Yeah, because otherwise someone could just hide out in a spot the whole
Right.
time and you could never find them because you're on a whole island.
Some people
But
obviously
if the
do
zone
that, though.
shrinks, they have to keep within that zone, and so do the other players.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, though, because like you brought up Chris, you just said, well, some people do camp out. Like, look at the lighthouse. Like, if the people who are running the thing were like, well, let's make this fucking interesting. Let's close off zones and actually force everyone to the lighthouse area and see what the fuck happens. Like, they could do that if they
That's
want
true.
to, or
That's
they could
true.
just be like, fuck it, lighthouse zone off, and then they'll just have to die. But if
Yeah.
you want violence and action, then you actually try to corral everyone to the lighthouse, which I think is like the genius of the sickness of the design of this game.
Totally. Yeah, I see that.
Do you see it, Chris?
I see it clearly.
Glad you see
I
it.
can see clearly now that
Chris, did you get my
gets
X-Men
it.
joke? Did you
No.
get my?
Yeah,
did you get my
yeah,
X-Men
yeah.
Mike,
joke?
Mike,
over
I
me.
got it.
Canard?
I got it, Mike.
All right,
Genosha.
guys, what do you say we rate this Mammer Jammer?
Let's do it.
All right, Kyle, what are we rating it?
I'm gonna rate this movie Callers.
All right, so how many Mockingjays?
How many Catching Fires?
How many Catching Fires are you going to give it,
Part
Chris?
2. Copies of Catching Fire Part 2.
Killer callers.
Yeah, we're gonna rate it Callers.
Callers, I like that. Let's start with Mike. Have we started with you recently?
I don't. I feel like I never get to go first.
Well, you go first.
Yay.
So you seem excited
the
about
mood.
it.
Set
That's
the
why we
mood.
always pick you.
Glad that I finally got to finish this. Yeah, this is a really good film. At the face of it, you think it's just going to be some dumb gimmicky, like fucking foreign slaughter film or something like that. Just but what's beneath it is actually like this really telling story about like human nature. It's very much like kind of like Lord of the Flies situation, right? Like they're trying to tell a deeper story about like kind of the evil that exists in everybody, and people react differently, and then you can tell who the really good people are and who the really bad people are. And I think adding that all together, it makes for a really great movie watching experience. I think I'm going to give this a 4.5. I think it's a really good film, man. I was very impressed. Very impressed. It can be slow. Maybe that's the only reason I'm giving it not a perfect score. There are times, but otherwise, 4.5 from me.
I'll go next, and then we'll let Kryle finish it up.
Cry. We give it 8.
Whoa, they can do that. So I was gonna come in at a 5, but Kyle talked me out of it.
I talked you out of it.
Kyle talked me out of it.
Damn.
I'm at a 4.5. I'm right there with Mike on this one. This watch around, I definitely caught more into the emotional and human nature side of the storytelling in this film, which I absolutely love because it goes so deep in so many different directions. It's insane. And like each one of them, I feel like you can connect a little bit to and can see yourself maybe in that situation, which also makes this film pretty terrifying at times. So and like the part where I'll disagree with Mike is that this is the first movie I can remember in so long that was 2 hours where it flew by. Like honestly, for me, where I will dock it that half is the Kyle bring up the goddamn point of like where does it go with the media and is this somehow play with it? I didn't cross my mind in this watch through and pointing that out. I'm like, yeah, that is kind of a huge flaw that sticks out into the story of this of like what really is the effect of this on the population at large, because I think that is a big point of this. So I'll have to dock it half of a star for that. But otherwise, from that, man, this movie is awesome. I recommend if you haven't seen it to watch it. It's really really good, and it's one that you can watch. I mean, I think I find something new every time I watch it, so that's always a good sign. Chris, first part of Cryle.
I'm giving it 4.
Oh my god,
Callers.
they are going to give it an 8. They are going to give it an 8.
I'm giving it 4 callers. I do have some issues with this movie. I think that there are parts that are slow. While it does, when the action gets going, that's when it gets fun. There's some parts that definitely drag, and I find myself kind of checking out.
Check out this podcast.
I do think that, for any negative thing that could be said, there's some really mastery to this film. And it definitely influenced a ton of other things. The other thing I'll criticize that we didn't really touch on is some of the effects. I do enjoy the majority of them and think that they're fun, but there's some goddamn cheesy blood effects in some of these shots that look straight out of like any low budget indie film that I've seen, so that part is a little dated. I know it was early on, but yeah, there was some of the blood effects were cheesy. Over
1999.
I didn't dig as deep into all of the characters. I feel like it's a lot of information to take in. So I didn't get quite as connected maybe as you guys did, but overall, still a super fun movie, crazy, entertaining, high action, all with young teenagers on an island. And it's, if you like the Hunger Games, like this is going to be like the adult version of that movie. So I highly recommend it, but I'm coming in at 4 callers.
4 callers. Chris says he likes the Hunger Games better. All right. So make sure you guys get at him for that. Kyle?
I'm coming in at a 5 on this one. I don't think that would be any bit of a surprise. This movie is, I gotta say, this is one of the first films where I experienced what do you mean I can't just go rent this movie? What do you mean it's not released in America? And it's the first time that I encountered that concept, I think, as a movie watcher. I agree with Cody. I think this movie is fun and it's energy. But this watch through, man, I really enjoyed the attention to detail they played to all these characters. Even how we pointed out there's like some characters at the beginning, like the first kid, like we don't get much on it. But the thing is, the filmmaker does a really masterful thing, and at the end, they're showing this basketball game, and it's showing all these kids as being friends and hanging out. And I almost feel like that kind of bookends these stories that maybe we didn't get a whole lot of depth to before, but we definitely saw what their connection was to each other. And seeing them as all friends and having fun and winning at a game of basketball was like, it made it more depressing that they instantly turned on each other when they were put against the wall to make a decision, I highly recommend you guys, anybody out there who hasn't seen this film, definitely check it out, because after I agree, each time I've watched it, I've taken away something new, but there's just a really wonderfully crafted, personal story in this film. So 5 from me. Great director.
That's a 9 from Cryle.
It's a 9 from Cryle.
All right, I'm glad you brought up the basketball game real quick. I know we always do this shit, but this I'm glad you brought it up, because my favorite thing about that basketball game is it's a highlight reel for everybody else but one kid. The one kid who runs up for a layup and misses.
I know. Everybody started laughing at him.
I fucking lost it. But also too, I was like, what team are y'all cheerleading for? Y'all wearing blue and red.
I didn't really understand that part.
We're just cheering for a good game. Cheering for a good game, Cody.
Yeah. I know, man. They were.
I also highly recommend, if anyone's interested, to go out and read the book, because you get a lot more backstory, and the book is wonderfully written.
All right, what's the review?
I'll read the review.
Oh, Kyle's got it.
This review comes to us from, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, Skloont Dog.
I hope you're reading.
I hope so too, man.
I hope so too.
The title of the review.
You sounded out all the letters.
I did.
I heard his album's out next week. Check it out, Skloont Dog. dropping an EP.
Skloont Dog goes on to say, he gave us a title of Saturn 3.
Yeah. Snoop Dogg's cousin, Skloont Dog.
And the 5-star review, and it says, waiting for this cult classic to be reviewed. So it's either we're reviewing Skloont Dog's album or Saturn 3.
You know what?
Well, let me tell you something.
Here's the thing:
Sorry.
I will accept a 5-star review as a request. I will do that.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
That's a great review.
That's a great review.
From Skloont Dog.
Thank you, Skloont Dog. Thank you for that 5 stars. You know what? I'll think about it. No, Saturn 3 is gonna have to come up. I mean, that's a huge one.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't
Saturn
really?
3?
You don't know that
No,
one?
I don't know that one.
Huge one, man. Huge one on the sci-fi list.
You really helped to expand upon the title there.
Robots.
Huge one.
Yeah.
Robots in space.
All I know is huge.
Robots in space. I don't want to give it away. You got to watch the movie, my friend.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
this-
literally gave nothing
You
away.
gave me
Spoiler
nothing.
free. I said robots in
Sucks.
space. Robots in space, my friend.
Robots in space.
Robots in
Got it,
space.
Got it.
Skloont dog.
Thank
Skloont
you,
dog.
Thank you,
dog.
Skloont
Yeah.
dog.
5 stars.
5 stars. If you have a cool name like Skloont Dog, go ahead and leave us a review. We're really hoping that's it. If it's not, it is now. Ask JPlu5.
JPlu5.
Ask him. or Bobal Capsu.
Bobal Capsu is my favorite. Bobal Capsu.
If you would like a shout out at the end of the show, make sure you guys leave us a review. We will give you a shout out. And then what you need to do is follow us on social media. You can follow us at cultfilm_review on Twitter. You can follow us at cultfilm and review on Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook as well and YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe there.
Ring the bell.
You'd better do that. Very metal like. Very metal like. And then when you're done with that, make sure you go and buy your tickets for September 13th to watch The Burning with us, Cult Film and Review.
Jason Alexander.
Jason Alexander. Holly Hunter, is she in that too? Yeah.
He's in that as well.
Holly Hunter. And
Fisher Stevens.
Fisher Stevens. All the biggest stars. Not only that, Michael Salustio will be there signing headshots of me. So make sure you guys come out for that. It will be a really good time. I can guarantee it. And then, guys, after that, make sure you follow Kyle.
You can follow me on Instagram at cultfilm_Kyle.
Then you can follow Chris.
You can follow me at cultfilm_Chris on Instagram.
That was weird.
I know. That's how yours felt to me.
And you can follow Mike.
At Mike Salustio on Twitter.
And you can follow me at VHS Collect on Instagram and Snapchat. That's our show for this week. Remember, if you're going to join a cult, make sure they watch good movies. We'll see you next time.